Countdown, from the collection of short stories, Impossible Truths. The wind is screaming. I'm screaming. No, I'm not screaming anymore. Throat's already raw. Voice gone somewhere above me, with the plane, and the instructor's panicked face, and the moment I should have pulled the cord. My life is supposed to flash before my eyes. They always say that. Instead, I'm watching the ground rush up with terrible specificity. Individual trees resolving into branches, roads into cracks in asphalt. And all I can think about is the sound of a door closing. That particular click that marked the last time my father walked out of our house. 29 years. And I can still hear it. Clear as anything. Louder than the wind tearing past my ears. When I was 5 years old, my father walked out of our house and didn't come back. He left my mother, unemployed, with 2 kids, and whatever story she could cobble together to explain why Daddy wasn't coming home. Where's Papa? My sister's voice, small, confused, echoing in our empty kitchen. He had to go away for work, Habibti. My mother lied, her hands trembling as she poured tea she wouldn't drink. When is he coming back? The silence that followed was louder than any answer. When my mother finally told me, weeks later, when the lies became too heavy to carry, that he had left, I earnestly thought she meant that he had passed away, which made more sense to the little innocent boy I was. You're the man of the house now. She placed her hand on my shoulder. I was 5 years old and didn't know what that meant. Should I fix things? I didn't know how to fix anything. Make sure your sister brushes her teeth. She was already walking away. That's what being a man meant. Teeth brushing supervision. My sister was way younger. She didn't know yet what it meant to have a father, to lose one. All she knew was our mother, and that seemed enough. Why do you keep checking the door? She asked me one night, months after he left. I'm not. You are. Every time someone walks past. Even then, she could see through me better than I could see through myself. Even then, I was learning to lie. 4. The ground rushes closer. I can make out individual trees now. The geometry of roads. The terrible specificity of the earth that will receive me. The altimeter on my wrist is spinning backwards through numbers that should mean something, should trigger panic, action, the survival instinct everyone claims is hardwired into us. Instead, I'm thinking about Layla and how I spent an entire year planning to talk to her and never did. She sat 3 rows ahead. Her name was Layla, though I'm not certain I ever said it aloud in her presence. I spent an entire year planning to talk to her and never did. The closest I came was the day I saw her crying in the hallway after school. Some boy had said something cruel. I never learned what. I stood there for 45 seconds while she sobbed into her hands. 45 seconds where I could have said, "Are you okay?" Or, "What happened?" Or literally anything. Instead, I turned around and walked away. Because if I spoke to her, she might see me, really see me, and discover there was nothing there worth seeing. Just go talk to her. Karim pushed me forward during recess. What's the worst that could happen? Death, I thought. Rejection that would confirm what I already suspected about myself. That I was not worth staying for, not worth choosing, not worth the risk of loving. I can't. Why not? You're always so confident. But that was the performance, wasn't it? The the carefully constructed persona of the boy who had his life together, who didn't need anyone, who was fine, perfectly fine, thriving even, in the wreckage his father had left behind. I watched her from a distance instead, learned the pattern of her laughter, memorized the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she concentrated. I never spoke to her, not once, because to speak to her would be to reveal myself, and to reveal myself would be to risk the one thing I could not survive again: abandonment. "You're weird, you know that," Kareem said. "She probably likes you too." "No one likes me. That's not, really likes me. When people actually get to know me." And there it was, the truth I couldn't yet articulate. I had already decided that I was fundamentally unlovable, that my father's departure was not his failure, but mine, that there was something broken in me that drove people away. Better never to try than to have that suspicion confirmed. The father was not there when his only heir bravely waged his lonely wars against his bullies. The father was not there when I needed to learn how to be vulnerable, how to risk, how to love without the certainty of return. The longer the absence lasted, the more difficult it was for the little kid inside of me. When I was at my lowest, I wished there had been a tomb I could resort to, some grave for my fake martyr where I could go when everything else failed. I was bereft of that. He failed to be by my side when I needed him the most. 3. The altimeter spins. My hand hovers near the cord I should have pulled minutes ago. The voices won't stop now. Temperature dropping. Wind cutting through the jumpsuit like it's nothing. And all I can think about is the day he came back. Nearly 2 decades later, I was in my 20s, had just finished university. When my father grew older and discovered God in self-help books, he decided to return. The child he'd left behind had become a man who'd learned to stand on his own. I'd built a life without him. He called first. Of course he called first. The coward couldn't even show up unannounced. "I need to see you." His voice older, rougher, but still his. Still the voice that used to tell me bedtime stories before it learned to say goodbye without saying anything at all. Why? I've changed. I've found God. I found what? Yourself? Peace? Congratulations. Please, I need you to understand. Understand what? That you were scared. That you couldn't handle it. That we weren't enough. Silence on the line. The silence he should have filled with apologies years ago. "Everyone makes mistakes," he finally said. I could hear the self-help books in his voice, the therapy sessions, the spiritual awakening that had cost him nothing, because he'd already paid with our childhoods. Mistakes are forgetting to buy milk. Mistakes are being late to pick up your kid from school. What you did wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. You chose yourself. Every single day, you chose yourself. I was young. You were a father. And there it was. The rage I'd been swallowing since I was 5 years old. Hot, bitter, finally free. You were a father and you left. You don't get to come back now because you finally figured out what the rest of us knew all along. That abandoning your family makes you a coward. I want to make it right. You can't. I can try. If you let me, I don't owe you anything. Not forgiveness, not understanding, not a single second of my time. But the books say, your books say everyone deserves forgiveness. Your books say I should be the bigger person. Your books are wrong. Some things can't be forgiven. Some people don't deserve it. When we finally met, because despite everything, I agreed to meet him, perhaps to prove to myself that I no longer needed him. He looked smaller than I remembered. Age had carved him into something fragile, something that wanted absolution from the son he'd destroyed. "You look like me," he said, as if genetics were love, as if sharing his face meant I should share his burden of guilt. "I am nothing like you." But I was lying, and we both knew it. I saw myself in his eyes, the same escape artist, the same coward, the same man who ran the moment things got difficult. He had taught me everything I needed to know about leaving. I had been the perfect student. "I see it in you," he said quietly. "The anger, the walls. You're punishing yourself for my sins. You don't get to tell me who I am. You gave up that right. I'm sorry." The words were so small, so insufficient, so pathetically late. They landed like stones in water, disappearing without echo. I saw something break in his face. Good, I thought. Good. Let him feel it. Let him carry it the way I've been carrying it. I wanted him to suffer, and the wanting felt clean and righteous and completely justified. Only later, years later, would I recognize this as the exact moment I stopped being the victim of his abandonment and became something else entirely. Failing to grant him what he sought, forgiveness, was my first and most important triumph. But it was also my first and most important failure. Not because he deserved forgiveness, but because refusing to forgive him meant I would spend the rest of my life carrying him with me, letting him define every relationship, every departure, every moment I chose walls over vulnerability. I became him by trying so desperately not to be him. 2. The wind screams. The earth details itself below me with merciless clarity. I can see cars on highways, people in gardens, lives continuing without pause for the man falling through their sky. My sister called before I got on the plane. I didn't answer. I never answer. Forgiveness was the only major trait I lacked throughout my whole life. The source is obvious, but I should have tried harder, especially when my inability to forgive threatened relationships with people who were dear and most loved. "You never let anyone in," she said. Emma, the woman who almost made it through my walls. "That's not true, isn't it? Name one person who really knows you. One person you've trusted with the ugly parts." I couldn't. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. "See? You're so busy protecting yourself from being hurt that you're hurting everyone who tries to love you." "I'm not trying to hurt anyone." "I know. That's what makes it worse. You don't even realize you're doing it." She packed her things methodically, folding each piece of clothing with the same care she'd once folded herself into my life. I watched from the doorway, feeling nothing, or rather, feeling everything but showing nothing, which amounted to the same thing. "Say something," she said. "Fight for this. Fight for us." But I couldn't. The little boy who watched his father leave had learned his lesson too well. Never fight for something that can leave. Never need anyone more than they need you. Never, ever be the one left behind. Last month, when my sister died, my sister, not yours, you said, "That's terrible." And then you talked about your father for 40 minutes. You made my grief about your trauma. You do that with everything. You take and give nothing back, and somehow make me feel guilty for noticing. The worst part was she was right. I remember doing exactly that. remembered seeing her pain and thinking, finally, an opening to talk about what I need to talk about. "This is exactly what I mean," she said, her voice breaking. "You're letting me walk away without even trying. If you want to leave, leave. I don't want to leave. I want you to give me a reason to stay." But I had no reasons left to give. I had spent them all building walls, conserving my heart, keeping myself safe from the one thing that had already happened: abandonment. Looking back, I can see I hurt people, but they always expected too much. Emma wanted support when her sister died, and I gave her 40 minutes about my father instead. My sister wanted me to call more often, to show up, to be present. They called it selfishness. I called it self-preservation. Maybe we were both right. I knew we were all prone to these cruelties. I had my own blemishes to account for, yet I couldn't forgive. That hypocrisy was a weight I carried every day. I did all I could to learn that skill, but I always wound up hitting the rock-solid walls built around my heart, fearing being abandoned or hurt again. I always returned empty-handed, telling myself I was safer for it. 1. "I'm worried about you," my sister said during our last real conversation. The one before I started letting her calls go to voicemail. "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You haven't been fine since..." "Don't. Since he left. Since he came back. Since you decided to become him." "I'm nothing like him." "You're exactly like him. You run. You hide. You hurt people and tell yourself it's because you're protecting them." I don't want to talk about this. When do you ever want to talk about anything real? When was the last time you let me see you? The actual you, not this performance you put on. I hung up. That's what I did. I hung up on my sister, the one person who had been there through everything, who had slept in my room during thunderstorms, who had believed the superhero stories I told her when we were children. The thing is, she doesn't understand. I keep my distance because I know what I am. I know I drain people. Better to leave before they leave me. Better to control the departure than suffer it. She thinks I'm running. I think I'm sparing her. The voices won't stop now. They cascade over each other. Fragments of every conversation I walked away from. My mother telling me I'm the man of the house. My sister asking why I keep checking the door. Kareem saying just go talk to her. My father insisting he's changed. Emma asking me to name one person who really knows me. My sister's voice breaking when she says I'm exactly like him. And beneath them all, the one I've been running from. My own voice. Small, terrified. I'm scared. I'm so scared. I don't know how to be loved. I don't know how to stay. The skydiving lessons were supposed to prepare me for this. They taught me the mechanics. Count to 5. Pull the cord. Guide the chute down. Simple, but I'm at 1 and my hand rests on the cord. And I'm thinking about that question Emma asked me. Name one person who really knows you. I couldn't answer her then. I can't answer her now. My hand finds the cord. And then, strange and unbidden, a memory surfaces. Not from the catalog of failures and departures I've been cycling through, but from before. Before the door closed. Before everything broke. I'm 5 years old. Maybe younger. We're in the kitchen. The kitchen that still had my father in it, before it became the place where his absence echoed. My mother is making tea. My sister, barely 3, is spinning in circles in her yellow dress, dizzy with the simple joy of being small and loved and safe. My mother's laughing, really laughing. The sound like light breaking through clouds, and I'm there with them, part of it. Belonging without effort, without performance, without walls. Just a child in a kitchen with his mother and sister. And for that moment, that single, perfect moment, everything is exactly as it should be. That's the image I'm carrying. Not the door closing. Not my father's absence. Not Emma packing her things, or my sister's unanswered calls, or any of the wreckage I've built from one man's choice to leave. Just the three of us. The sunlight through the window. My sister spinning. My mother's laughter. That was heaven. The only heaven I've ever known. The only one I'll ever need. The wind screams. The earth rushes up. My hand is still on the cord.